Moves on in, and he scores! He's gonna learn today.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You're about to hear another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
Ladies and gentlemen, we finally have some regular season hockey to talk about. How exciting is that?
Yeah, boy. I mean, it feels like it almost didn't exist, though.
I know, dude. It was like 2 o'clock on a Friday. I'm at work thinking, like, let me go. I need to go home. I need to watch this game.
I was a little torn between doing reading with my students or having them do choice time so I could watch a little bit of the game on the computer. I went with choice time.
I was going to say, that's the obvious choice there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they don't need to know how to read.
Yeah, they're old enough. They'll figure it out themselves.
Part of me really wanted to put it up on – we have like an Apple TV. I really wanted to put it up on the Apple TV and have it be part of choice time. Like, it's a choice.
Yeah, read or watch a Flyers game.
Right, exactly. I mean, we could even put subtitles on.
I can tell you right now, you'd be my favorite teacher if you did that.
Yeah, I'd probably be fired.
But anyways, guys, obviously, having said it now, we're going to be talking a little bit about that Chicago game in Prague. We're going to touch on one of the games that happened before that, which we'll touch briefly on. We don't want to relive the misery. Got a couple roster decisions to discuss, and as always, the Wait What segment's back this week, and we answer your Twitter questions.
We got quite a few.
We did. I actually posted a tweet last night around 12:30, heavily buzzed, thinking people would actually ask questions, and we got one or two out of it, so thank you.
I know. I mean, I think we're one short of a dozen and two short of a baker's dozen.
Say what now?
That's 11.
That's 11?
Yeah, because a dozen, there's 12. I think a baker's dozen is 13. But we might actually have 12 questions out. That would mean we have a dozen, and we're one short of a baker's dozen.
Well, if any, no one's listening to us live right now anyway, but maybe we'll make up a question like you guys would know. But if we're going to quit with the dilly-dallying here, we're going to get down to business, folks.
Let's get down to business. I ain't got no time to mess around with this. This must be a circus in town. Oh, you want to keep going?
I'd like to, if that's okay with you. If it appeases the court. Yep. I'd like to proceed.
Let's rock and roll.
Guys, the Chicago Flyers game in Prague. Flyers snuck out with a 4-3 win. Awesome. Love it. I think it's great. And I think there were some players that really stuck out, some players that didn't really stick out, which is kind of a good thing too. But John, your overall take on this game?
Well, first of all, I expected them to lose it. At that showing against, I'm going to mess it up, Lausanne,
yes.
Lausanne was horrendous.
And I forgot to mention that. My apologies. But
no, that's fine. I'm talking about it right now. So, yeah, I was just expecting a typical bad start to the season from the Flyers. And, I mean, was it pretty all the time? No. But that's what's going to happen. Your first regular game of the season, all you want to do is come out on top. And that's what they did.
With a lot of help from newly re-signed Travis Konechny. Oh my God, dude!
Yeah,
he's
going to score 164 goals this year.
Yeah, that's he's on pace for it, and Raffl's on pace for 82. Who else scored some of those goals? We had one from
Lindblom.
Lindblom had one. He's on pace for 82 as well. So, guys, we're going to have some Hart Trophy candidates.
Yeah. Quite the year. Yeah. No, but all seriousness, though, man, Konechny just looked like it's about time you paid me. You know, he's proving already or wanting to prove that money was worth it.
It's nice to see that money have the adverse effect as what it typically does, because once people get paid, and you see it a lot like in the NFL, they kind of are just like, I've got my money. I'm good. Konechny's like
Ivan Provorov.
Yes. You know, and now Konechny's got his money, and he's like, now I'm going to show you why I'm worth it. And he damn well did.
He was hands down the hungriest person on the ice.
Oh, yeah. If we could have 11 other forwards on the team as hungry as Konechny, we wouldn't lose a game this year.
Right.
Maybe I exaggerate, but...
I mean, 82-0 with 164 points. Hey, now,
Yeah,
let's do it.
Wasn't that a Verizon commercial a couple years back? And we're like, the Flyers went 82-0.
Yeah, yep, you're right. No, it was multiple seasons, I think, and they all had really long beards. I forgot all about that commercial.
We can dream.
No, but I mean, there were points where when they were controlling the tempo and kind of like playing that aggressive style, they really controlled the game. But once again, there were those moments where they were just subject to bonehead turnovers.
Now, I was listening to that broadcast, and they were saying that the ice conditions were pretty soft. It was a warmer arena, so that could have played into it. Obviously, you're not going to put the entire blame on the ice.
Right.
At beginning of the season, turnovers like that are going to happen. There's some sloppy play. It all gets refined. A couple more games, and they'll be looking, I think, pretty good, honestly.
Provorov can't be making those turnovers, though. I don't know if you saw the first goal that they gave up. I mean, he just like hand wrapped it
with his hands.
Sure, there it is. I mean, he pretty much should have got the assist on that one. I think he did get the assist on that one.
Hey, at least he's got a point on the season. He's on pace for 82 points then.
Right. Well, there you go.
Perfect.
But no, in all seriousness, though, I mean, we're paying you that much money now. Like, you're a veteran on this team. You can't be making those stupid decisions. And I know they're going to come once in a while, but that doesn't mean I can't be like, you can't be making those stupid decisions.
Yeah, and I've said it before when we were discussing Provorov and his place on the roster in the lineup. Those takeaways, he had 92, I believe, last year. And I think around the same number the year before. He's gotta stop that stuff, man. It's concerning at this point, and not something that is gonna make or break him, but it's still not good, and it's something that he needs to work on, which I honestly think pairing him with Niskanen would have cut down on that, but the pairings were jumbled.
He had 2 in the game, by the way. I just looked it up. 2 giveaways. On
pace for 164. Wonderful.
We should probably stop doing that.
Yeah, this is all a joke, guys, seriously. But what is serious as well, and it's not a joke, is that it's concerning, and these turnovers need to stop.
Right.
We'll see. Right. We'll see if it happens. I think that, if Provorov can show the drive that Konechny has now that he's got some money in his back pocket, we'll see it. I really do believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's going to be fixed. It's just when you're a defenseman, right, those giveaways, they just are even more glaring because you're that last line of defense, pun intended, before it goes to the goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot more of a chance of it being a costly turnover from a defenseman.
I think what's really going to help him is the fact that they have 3 coaches behind the bench that are very vocal and that are going to let him hear it. It's just a matter of whether he responds and how he responds to that. But if Provorov is the guy that we think he is, he should respond well, and he should cut down on those turnovers and those giveaways.
Yeah, I'm expecting it. It's still just not great to see the first game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you never want to see that stuff in the first game, but at the same rate, I'd rather see it in the first game than the last.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of that top line?
At first, I was hesitant because they split up the entire top line. Because I'm thinking, most of us thought that it was going to be Giroux, Couturier, Konechny, and now it's Giroux, Hayes, and Voracek, which I like. Obviously, you're not putting Giroux on any line other than the first line.
Right.
Now, you've got Voracek, who is, you could say, a top-line talent, but then you've got Kevin Hayes, who was presumably going to be the second-line center, and you bump him up to a first-line role. That concerned me, but his style of play meshes really well because he's heavy on the puck, he's going to protect it, and he's a big body, too. So having that with 2 guys like Giroux and Voracek who can dish, who can shoot, I think it's a recipe for success, especially with the trickle-down effect it's having on that second line. I'm not necessarily opposed to it now that I've seen it in action.
I'm not opposed to it, but now I'm not completely familiar with Kevin Hayes' game. I mean, I didn't really watch too much from when he played Winnipeg, and I hate the Rangers, so I don't really watch too much of them either. Agreed. But my biggest concern, right, is who's going to be scoring the goals? I mean, you got Voracek, who's a playmaker. Giroux, who, he can score, but he he's primarily a pass guy. I mean, he likes to set up the other guys on the team, unless it's in the power play. And Hayes, I mean, his goals aren't glaring numbers.
No. Now, Voracek has the capability to be the scorer on that line.
Sure.
But he needs to stop passing. And when people yell shoot, he needs to listen.
Right. And I mean, and not to as an extreme of an extent, but Giroux's going to have to be that guy too, where like, your job is now to find the back of the net. Like,
yeah, and he's more than capable of it, obviously. We've seen it.
Right. There's tons of potential.
Oh, yeah.
There.
And I'm not, I'm sure I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if Kevin Hayes became the goal scorer there, because you've got guys like Giroux and Voracek, the setup guys.
Right.
Plus, if he plants that big body in front of the net, he could be jamming home some goals every now and then off rebounds.
Definitely. I like Couturier on the top line. I mean, I think he deserves it. So it's just strange not having him there.
Yeah. Now we have to replace the 1C with 2C. But it's better than 3C, which is where he came from before he was our 1C.
Right.
But speaking of that, we're going to move down to that second line. With that trickle-down effect, we've got Lindblom, Couturier, and Konechny. I've seen it a couple different places now. Do we really have two first lines?
No. No.
Now, is that like a no, or is that a definitive no?
I think it's way premature to say that we have two first lines. Mm-hmm. I mean, the potential's there, and yes, Konechny had a great first game. But, you still don't know yet. I'm not sold on Lindblom being first-line caliber.
No, I'm not either.
Point.
I think second line's good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a really good second line. I don't think it's one of those deals where it's like, oh, we essentially have two first lines. Now, if we did what I originally wanted us to do, where it was Couturier, Giroux, Konechny, and then Hayes, JVR, and Voracek, I would make more of that argument.
Yeah, everybody projected those lines, and we knew coming into the game, Vigneault had said that he was going to jumble them and that he was going, and we're seeing these lines and we're like, what is this guy thinking? Like, what's he doing? It's like so many people believe that everything was set and it's like, this is how it's going to be. And Vigneault comes in and he's just like, nope, this is how we're going to do things. And it worked.
Well,
but
too, man, it makes sense because depth right now for this team is an issue.
Exactly. I think the fact that we have so many injuries led him to tinkering with these lines. And what else are you supposed to do?
Right. I mean, if you put all the good players on the first two lines, then you should probably just run two lines. Because that bottom six, like we mentioned in the last episode, could just be a mess.
Yeah, and that's probably why JVR found himself on the third line.
Right.
No, I don't think it's his fault. I don't think that he's a third line caliber player. I think he's got higher upside than that. But it spreads the wealth a bit. It also gives a guy like Twarynski, who is on the opposite wing, a chance to kind of learn from him while playing with him as well. Offset the maybe naivety of being a rookie in today's NHL with a guy like JVR who has how many years of experience under his belt.
Right. I mean, and Lawton looked pretty capable as a 3C too.
Yeah, who called that one? This guy. You're welcome. But anyways, if we're going to talk about the bottom six now here, there's two names that kind of a surprise when they made the team out of camp. How do you think Twarynski and Bunneman performed in that game? I guess, is it good, bad, what do you think?
I mean, they didn't stand out either way, which I think is fine being a rookie in your first game, especially when you're a bottom six role, especially when you're rookies that no one expected to make this team. Would it have been nice to see a little bit more from them offensively? Of course. But at this point, I'd rather them just not screw up, and they really didn't do that.
When you don't hear their names said at all, it's usually a good thing. Because if you would have heard their names, it was either going to be even better than good or worse.
Right.
So, like you said, could we have wanted to see a goal or an assist at least from one of them? Sure, obviously. But I really do think Vigneault made the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly showing they can hang in the NHL. They showed it in the preseason, but the preseason is the preseason. But they didn't look out of place. And I think that's what you want from players like this in their first game.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about the other options that were around and people have been talking about. Morgan Frost, don't think he was ready, but also last night.
And he was hurt.
Yeah, that definitely didn't help him or his case. But he definitely played well last night with the Phantoms. I should say this is Sunday, so I'm talking about Saturday's game. The Phantoms altogether were held off the score sheet, but Frost did look pretty good, and I think there's not going to be too much of an adjustment for him. I think he'll find the back of the net. He'll find the score sheet eventually, as will everybody on the Phantoms. But
top line center, yeah?
I believe so. No, he was slated to be top line, and I think Gordon did his thing and dipsy doodled him and put all the vets on the top line there. I think it was Andrioff, Carey, and O'Reilly, I want to say.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Because when I looked at something before the game, I think it said that Frost was going to be centering those two guys, Carey and Andrioff.
Yeah. Well, we all know Gordon's notorious for that.
Right.
Our guy, Tony Androkidis from Inside AHL, he's told us many times that Gordon will do this, where he'll have his lineup, have his lines all set, and then at the last minute, it's like, oh, just kidding. This guy's on this line instead, and that guy's on that line instead, and so on and so forth. Doesn't mean Frost won't see top line minutes as center there. I think he will eventually.
Right. Yeah, he should.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of him, though, there were two players sent down that we weren't really expecting.
Yeah. Especially the one, in my opinion, at the least. I did not expect Myers to get sent down.
Me neither.
And obviously being in agreement there, I understand the move from a business and a team standpoint, because you have a guy like Morin who needed to clear waivers to go back to the AHL. So you run the risk of losing him if you put him through waivers. Myers doesn't need to do that. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it. I don't agree with it. The same could be said for Farabee, not having to clear waivers, but we all thought that Farabee had earned that spot in the roster and in the opening night lineup, and he wasn't in it.
Well, let's backtrack a second and go back to the Myers thing, because I do have an opinion on Farabee, but the whole waiver thing, I understand. You didn't want to send Morin down because you didn't want him to get claimed off waivers. But what about your boy Iron Man Bobby Haig? Like, would it have been a bad thing if he got claimed off waivers?
It wouldn't have been a terrible prospect. I mean, if we lose Robert Haig, I think Sam Morin could fill that void. But
right.
At the same rate, you've got a guy that's played, over 100 games in the NHL with Robert Haig. He's not as bad as people want to make him out to be. Your stat sheets and your little analytical, pie charts or whatever the hell they are can only tell you so much. And Haig is not as bad as those type of people want to make him out to be. He's not good. I'm not going to sit here and toot his horn and say, Bobby Haig's a premier defenseman. He's not. But he's not nearly as bad as some of these people are making him out to be. He's the new AMAC. He's the scapegoat of the blue line.
Right. No, I totally get that. But when you have two young guys who could potentially take that sixth defenseman, I'd rather give it to them to start off. And my worry with Myers is it took him a little bit longer than people expected to get to the NHL, and we don't really know if it was his fault or just the coaches and general managers' decision to be overly patient with him. Then he finally gets up to the NHL. I mean, he looked pretty decent last year, and now he's being sent back down. I worry about that, taking a toll on his confidence. And I understand that he's an athlete and he's a professional and he just has to move past that, but he's still a kid and he's still trying to make his way. And I'm just a little worried that those, in his mind, he's just going to start saying, oh, am I ever going to make this freaking team?
Yeah, I see your point. But at the same rate, he played 20 or so games last year, 2 points. So nothing popping off the stat sheet at you, but I think that his defensive game should be rounded out a bit more, in my opinion, at the very least, my opinion. But you go from having a head coach in Dave Haxtell who was just, it seemed very complacent, seemed, this is what the team is and there's nothing I can do to change it, to a guy in Vino who is balls to the wall, let's get to the playoffs, win me a MFN Cup.
Right.
And you want to go with your proven commodities because there's not much room for error in pursuing a Stanley Cup. So you want to go with the guys you're getting something out of and you know what you're getting out of them. With Morin, you kind of don't know. With Myers, you know less than what you know with Robert Haig because Robert Haig's been in the league for 2 years.
Right.
Not saying that's the right approach. I'm no GM. But
no,
it is what it is.
Right. It's not like he was having a great preseason. I mean, he didn't look great, so I understand it. I guess I just would have loved to see it pan out a little differently.
There were preseason games where he looked just out of place. There were other preseason games and moments in the preseason where Myers looked every bit of what we expect him to be and want him to be.
Right.
It's too topsy-turvy. It's too cattywampus.
Oh, you're using that word again, man. But moving on to Farabee, I think it was the right move to send him down. I mean, everybody wanted him to be ready to make this opening roster. And what I saw in preseason, and, I'll be the first one to admit I didn't watch all the preseason games, and what I did watch was, not full games. But from what I saw was he was struggling to keep up. Yeah. And I think instead of risking that continuing to happen during the regular season and see him drown, it just made sense for him to kind of get his sea legs back and put him in the AHL for a little bit, And if he turns around quickly, then good, swap him out with Bunneman or whatever, No knock on Bunneman. Right?
No, yeah. Like that. Obviously, no knock on Bunneman at all, but I think you're right, and I think that Farabee's place on this team, he'll have a place. And I think it'll most definitely be by the end of this season. However, when you look at it, isn't the prospect of having him on a line with Frost and Ratcliffe and Lehigh Valley just too much to pass up?
Oh, I know.
And, obviously you're not going to put AHL success over NHL success, but at this point in time with the roster that the Flyers do have, it's something that it's almost somewhat of a luxury to be able to keep that line intact, let those three grow together, because when you think about it, that line could really do some damage down the road here at the NHL level.
Right. I mean, and they're going to have a bigger role in the AHL than they would in the NHL. That's just plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've said that over and over again. I mean, there's a bunch of times where I would just rather see a prospect have a big role with Lehigh Valley than be subject to the fourth line in Philadelphia.
Exactly. It goes back to training camp when Vigneault said he's not going to put checkers with skill players, vice versa. You want your guys that are going to be the skill players playing with other skill players, checkers playing with checkers, grinders with grinders, so on, so forth, ashes to ashes, yada, yada, yada.
One more thing about this game and kind of just the current state of the Flyers.
Okay.
What's the deal with Chris Stewart? Is he just hanging out these days?
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Stewart is allowed to stay on his pro tryout for as long as he wants, for as long as Chuck Fletcher wants. He cannot play in any games, whether it be NHL or AHL, until he signs a contract. If he wanted to be and remain on his PTO through game 82 of this season, he could, as long as Fletcher.
Does he get paid for that?
I don't know.
Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? If you got paid for it,
you'd have to think it's somewhat of I guess without any better term to describe it, like a per diem type thing. You get paid per day or whatever, but it's another body. It's something that if we could call it catastrophe hits us and we get more injuries, there's worse options, I guess. Not many, but
it's just strange, right, that he hasn't been released from it. I mean, it's not typical. At least I don't think it's typical.
No, I don't think it is either. because you look around the league, and on the same day as a lot of the people were cut and demoted, you were seeing people being released from their PTOs. McDonald was. Right. Calgary released McDonald from their PTO, and then I think it was Calgary also signed Zach Ronaldo.
All right.
That guy's still in the league. Speaking of former Flyers, but yeah, the Farabee. I also want to go off track a bit here too. Did you see the photo of him, Myers, and Lyon signing autographs, and how dejected Farabee looked?
No,
you didn't see that photo.
No,
dude, he's just sitting there with his hand over it, like on his forehead, just looking so dejected, while Phil Myers and Alex Lyon are standing there like everything's hunky dory, like I'm here signing autographs, and I feel for the kid.
That
man.
Sucks.
He took that hard. It appears. I don't have any inside information about how he took it, but that also exactly. It's encouraging.
Right.
If he took it that hard, it means he's going to work just as hard to get it back.
Did they really have to bring them on the trip, though? I feel like that's a little... Yeah.
That's a kick in the nuts.
Yeah. Hey, you're coming with us. Oh, by the way, you can hang out with us for the weekend, but we're sending you to Lehigh Valley.
But they also get a free trip to Prague, so... You know, I'm
still
jealous.
Were any of them making chocolate with Gritty? Did you see that thing?
Oh, God. That thing, man. I swear.
Yeah. I try to avoid that stuff, but that's the part of the Flyers that my wife likes. All the stupid videos. So, you got to see this. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. All the guys that on the Flyers that my wife compared to like ex-boyfriends, because apparently Radko Gudas and Anthony Stolarz looked like ex-boyfriends of hers. They're all gone now, so I'm like, thank God.
I thought you were going to say Gritty. I thought you said Gritty looked like an ex-boyfriend.
No, my wife's too good looking to have an ex-boyfriend that looks like that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a bit of a downgrade.
Yeah.
You.
Hey, yeah. Well, that's funny. You're a jerk.
Should we move to some Wait What, man?
Yeah, we're going to move on to some more serious stuff here, folks.
What the
Our Wait What segment is back
I love how you said more serious stuff, and then you play that thing.
What? I don't understand. That's the name of the segment.
I know, but it's just funny. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've done this. I think we've skipped this the past, 1 or 2 weeks?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we've just had a lot to talk about. But this week, we're making time for it because there's some things we want to discuss that we took a look at and just said, what the bleep? Yeah. So, John, would you like to start us off, or would you like me to take the reins on this one?
Mine will be quick, so I'll start off and get it done with.
Okay, you go for this one.
So my Wait What is the Flyers' schedule to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, time and time again, I feel like the NHL screws the Flyers with their schedule. We're either starting off on the road in California, or we have the most back-to-backs of any other team in the league. But if you look at the opening 2-3 weeks of this schedule, we had a home game in Prague. Thanks.
Home game.
Thanks a bunch. Then we don't play again until Wednesday. We have a home game against the Devils. Then we go to the West Coast. Then we go to Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton.
Oy.
I mean, then we're home for 2 games, whatever. But it's that strand of we're in Prague, then we're in for a game, then we have to go to the Western Conference and play Vancouver, and then I think that's Saturday. Yeah, we play Vancouver on Saturday, and then we don't play again until Tuesday, and we go back to back Calgary and Edmonton.
Now, I do know this. The Flyers do have a say in when they want their West Coast trip.
So just get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's their mentality, is just get it out of the way. But it's still frustrating for us fans on the East Coast when we have to tune in at 10 p.m.
I ain't tuning in at 10 p.m.
I am, but,
no,
that's just because...
Not.
No,
I
am.
Lying. No, you're lying.
How am I lying?
Yeah, because you're not going to stay up and watch this game.
You want to bet me?
Kinda.
Pod Street bets?
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me?
Maybe because it's a Saturday, you'll stay up.
Maybe
but
just in spite of you.
You're not staying up for these Tuesday and Wednesday games at 9 and 9:30.
Look, I took the game recap for PSN when they opened up the season against San Jose 2 years ago.
Right, and you watched the highlights the morning after, and you typed up your game recap.
I watched the entire damn game. Do not question my loyalty to my favorite team.
All right, man. I mean, I love this team too, but being a dad of a 2.5-year-old, I'm not staying up till 1:30 in the morning.
Well, while until I am actually a father, I'm going to take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
I'll learn quick. Don't get me wrong.
No, but I just think like this is maybe it sucks more for the fans because
Yeah.
you had that game on Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon. You know, some people I'm sure took off. I tried. The wife said no. But you know, some people couldn't watch that, and then you got these California games where we can't all be Derek Bobs over here and stay up and watch these games, where it just stinks that we can't essentially watch a string of them until the 19th.
Yeah, it is frustrating. That's, I think, the most frustrating part because all the excitement's built up. The hockey season's back. You're ready to watch some Flyers hockey, and then you got to stay up that late to watch it, or you got to try to call off work early and catch the game. You know,
Right.
It's
But
one or the other.
Yeah, that's all I got for that, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump into some rankings here. Read an article a couple days ago from Yahoo.com. This guy's name's Joe Haggerty, and he put out an article predicting the Metro and how it's going to shape up at the end of the year, what the standings are going to look like. And much like what we did a couple weeks back with John and his betting odds, I'm going to run through this list.
Okay.
And I'm not going to mention where the Flyers are, but I want you to guess where they are in this ranking. Okay?
Do you want me to guess like right now?
I'm going to go team by team, and you say the Flyers are either below that team or above that team. So you're going to try to pinpoint where they're at.
All right, so you're not going to do it in order. You're just going to go a team.
No,
I'm going to guess. And then
it's going to be in order, but I'm going to skip where the Flyers would be. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think you should just go. It's kind of like that time when I had to play that drinking game asshole. I didn't get it when people were explaining, but I got it as we started to play. So just go, and then I'll figure it out.
Okay, Washington Capitals. Did the Flyers rank above or below them?
Oh, below them.
Pittsburgh.
It's just the Crosby Malkin effect. I'm going to go below them.
Okay. Rangers.
Above them.
Okay. Carolina.
Above them.
Islanders.
Above. Ah, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh. Whoops. All right, so I'm gonna go above Carolina.
Okay. And then the Islanders.
This one's tough. I'm gonna go above the Islanders because the goaltending.
Above the Islanders. Okay. Next we have the Devils.
Above the Devils because of the goaltending.
Okay, so Columbus is the only other team to mention other than the Flyers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go above Columbus too. So what do I have? The Flyers at 3.
You have the Flyers at 3. Joe Haggerty
Yep.
had the Flyers at 7th.
Well, he sucks.
He had Washington. It was in that order. It was Washington, Pittsburgh, Rangers in 3rd, Carolina in 4th, Islanders in 5th, Devils in 6th, Flyers 7th, and obviously Columbus last. I completely disagree as well.
The minute you put the freaking Rangers at 3 is the second that I lose any respect for this idiot.
This is bad.
Sorry, Joe Haggerty, but you're a moron.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. That's just stupid, pal. But, I mean, do I understand, I guess, some of the rationale? Sure. Rangers got better. Devils got better. Carolina and New York are probably standing somewhat pat, if not having gotten a little bit better. And Washington and Pittsburgh are perennial contenders. Philadelphia's the biggest question.
I don't know if Pittsburgh's a perennial contender.
They're a perennial contender. When's the last time they missed the playoffs?
But still, they're going to be worse this year.
Oh, yeah, but that still means they're a contender. I'm still putting them in contender status.
They're not quite Chicago Blackhawks and LA Kings.
But they sucked last year. Yeah, well, not that fall from grace.
Yeah, but I think they're going to take a step back. But yeah. I'm not trying to steal your weight here, but I think like the Metropolitan Division, like you could jumble it up so many different ways. After Washington, I think that Washington is the favorite to win this division. But I think there's a few ways that we could throw out some teams. But the Rangers at 3rd is just stupid.
It's preposterous. It's preposterous.
You know, he's not the only chucklehead to be done with this stuff though.
Oh, there's so many out there.
Well, I don't know why I subject myself to this, but I like listen to podcasts, and sometimes when there's nothing else, I put on that ESPN on Ice. Mm-hmm. And I used to like that Greg Wyshynski guy, but he's a tool. They were going through their rankings, and it was like he's a Devils fan, so I think the bottom
count his opinion.
The bottom, I believe, was Columbus, and then I think the Rangers. Okay. And then the girl who co-hosts it with him wanted to say the Devils, and he was like, "Oh no, it's the Flyers. Come on, they're not quite there." And then it's the Devils will be up there. Like, so many people want to count out the Flyers and put them at the bottom, but what the hell has New Jersey really done to show you that they're ready to contend? That goaltending problem is a problem.
Oh God, yes. Schneider's not your answer, and Blackwood.
Right.
Good,
and the
but
Rangers have like 5 NHLers on their team.
Oh, their defense is poop. It's poop.
Right.
No depth.
Right. They're going to have to churn out 1.5 lines and 3 defensemen every game.
Lundqvist is, 34, 35 years old, maybe a little older?
Something like that.
Yeah, 35 going on 70 because the wear and tear are just making him probably look and feel not look that way. The man's gorgeous. But
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But good God, Lundqvist is probably fed up, and if his contract's up soon, he's probably just going to say, "Good riddance, I'm retiring."
I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, he probably has another big contract.
Right.
But yeah, and at the beginning of the year, people make these assumptions, people make these essential guesses.
Right.
We're guilty of it. We gave our rankings, I believe, an episode or two ago, but
right.
Man, I'm okay.
New York is 2-0 right now, but
Flyers are 1-0.
Right.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty for now. 81 games left, baby. Yeah.
Right. Woo!
Yeah, but guys, that's the Wait What segment. And to get to our last segment, we are going to talk about some questions that you folks had for us that you so graciously asked us, with a lot of questions, really. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of the list here. Here we go. Our first question, one of 4 from this gentleman. We'll get to the other 3 later.
Okay.
Joe Tillman says, over under 5.5 games before AV goes off on this team. The reason being for 5.5 is because that's when the first homestand is post Western Canada trip. So what do you got? The over or the under?
So we're saying it'll be longer than 5 games if I have the over.
If he goes off on the team after the 6th game.
Yeah, I think it'll be after the 6th game. I mean, especially because this team just started their season with a win. Mm-hmm. Still a lot can happen, but I have confidence that they're going to at least be at 500.
I think it's doable.
So I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take the over as well. And I want to touch on these next couple games that he's talking about. So we've played one game. Our next game comes against the Devils on Wednesday.
Yep.
Another team somewhat like the Flyers, ranking-wise. Then you've got Vancouver, who I see the Flyers being better than them.
Yeah, they have a lot of young talent, but
they do. But they've got yet to put it all together.
Right.
And it'll happen, but just let's hope not before the Flyers come to town. Then you've got Calgary, the best team from the Western Conference last year. I think the Flyers might lose that one. It's a certainty. It's a possibility, I should say, more so. Then the Oilers game.
I mean, the Oilers are a dumpster fire.
Yeah, literally, it's bad.
Poor Connor McDavid.
I feel for the guy. I really do. God, Chiarelli just left that team in shambles.
Yep.
Yeah, Chiarelli was an idiot.
What was that? Remember, it was one of our first episodes, and I think I was making a joke about Bettman and suspensions.
Picking a name out of a hat?
It was like picking names out of a hat or something like that. That's what Chiarelli did with the Oilers.
It's like, let's go after this guy. Who you got here? He's shuffling up the hat,
Right.
Yeah.
He's got the numbers with the amount of money.
Oh, yeah. It was the fines. It was the suspensions with Voracek.
Right,
I think it was the game against Edmonton that was it. The game against Edmonton that he was suspended.
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Islanders. That's what it was. Okay, but anyways, we've got over for both of us. So that's the answer to your first question, Joe. The next question comes from Brian Cole. Brian Cole states, now that Farabee and Myers will start the year with the Phantoms, not because their ability or potential ability, but because they weren't subject to waivers, what should we expect to happen next to resolve this salary cap situation? The situation being the Flyers have maybe $20,000 in salary cap money. There is no next step.
Nope. Fletcher played with the money that he had and made the team that he wants to compete this year, and that's what we're focusing on now.
Yeah, if this is the way the salary cap's going to be, because no one's on long-term injured reserve right now, so the salary cap remains the same whether Nolan Patrick is in the lineup or not.
Right.
If they wanted to bring up Myers, somebody would have to more than likely go back down, which absolves more salary because Haig's making over $1 million.
Right.
So that gives us more salary cap. Farabee, someone would have to go back down, Torinsky or Bunneman, and the money we save by sending Haig down makes up for that.
Yep. Yeah.
So there you go.
I
don't think much is going to happen. People are going to get healthy, and that's what's going to happen. And Farabee will be with the big club eventually. And Myers. Flyer Doug. Flyer Doug asks us, how long until Morgan Frost is with the big club?
There's a lot of unknowns to add to that.
There is.
I think it doesn't involve his progression because I think by mid-season he'll be ready to be in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
But it really depends on what else is going on with this roster. There might not be a need for him. And again, you don't want to put him in a spot where he's going to play less.
You got to think that, midway through the year, let's say we get to the trade deadline, the Flyers are flirting with a top 3 spot in the Metro. Fletcher's the kind of guy that's probably going to want to make some moves, and I'm sure Vigneault is going to be in his ear to make those moves, find out who's available and what they cost.
Yep.
The spot just might not open up for Frost. If it does and he comes in and excels, awesome. But if he doesn't and he isn't given the opportunity, next year he might come out of camp and just blow the tires off the joint.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
This year just might not be his year. Not a bad thing. I'd like to see him get his footing, like John was saying, in the AHL.
Right.
And then come out and just kill it next year. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, again, if he earns it, that's great, but it also depends on if there's a spot for him, like you were saying.
Yeah. Then we move on to Cliff Waddling. Cliff Watling. Let's go with that. My question is, do you foresee the Flyers brass moving Raffl at some point to make room for another kid later this season, as in Frost/Farabee play 20 to 25 games in the AHL to get up to speed and dominate at pro, and then make the jump, thus placing Pitlick and Lawton to the 4th line? You want to take this one, or do you want me to take this one quick?
Well, I've got a pretty, quick answer. No.
Go for it. No.
No, maybe in the NHL video game, that's the to make, but Raffl is great on the 4th line. It doesn't make any sense to get rid of him.
We are big fans of Raffl on the 4th line.
Yep.
You saw it evidenced by that backhand goal from behind the net. The guy still has the skill. He's just very serviceable in that 4th line role and at a great price tag.
And what's the return you're going to get for him? Close to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like I've said it 7 times on this show. You don't want to put some of these guys like Farabee on the 4th line. It's just, that's not what you want to do, in my opinion, at least.
No, you're exactly right.
No, I don't think they're going to trade him.
You're exactly right. Then if we're going to move on, we've got Brian here. This is the year, ? Hopefully, pal. With cap rules, will the time that they are under the cap now accumulate so that they can spend it later? With cap rules, will the time that they are under the cap now accumulate? I'm assuming like the money that they have now, will it accumulate so that they can spend it later? Will they have more cap room later that they can spend?
This is what happens when you do these cold.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's more fun doing it cold because now people can laugh on the fact that we don't even know what kind of question we're answering.
Yeah, if I'm gonna guess here, I think Brian, what he means to say is that with the cap rules now and how they are,
Yep.
the Flyers are under the cap now. I guess maybe
Sure.
with the TV deal coming through next year, they're going to
Okay.
have some extra cap room. If they have the same cap that they have now, next year when the cap eminently goes up, are they going to spend that money? And I don't see a reason not to, especially if you're looking to contend and get better.
I mean, I see a reason not to. Also you have to think they're going to have to pay some players like Nolan Patrick and things like that. But,
True.
I mean, we keep talking about how great our prospect pool is. If we can fill the voids internally, that's the route you want to take. So that money is going to be spent re-signing some players, but it might not necessarily go to someone on the free agent market or via trade.
Yeah, I don't think the Flyers need to be very active in the trade or free agency market because they've got the tools necessary to succeed now. And
It's also
in the future,
way too early to talk about that.
Very early, yes. It's not the days of Holmgren where they're just spending money to spend money,
Right.
dishing out these crazy contracts. But it's also not the days of Hextall where he's being very, very, very frugal. It's kind of a somewhat in between, if not leaning more towards Holmgren's days.
Right.
But I just don't see Fletcher being the kind of guy that spends money for the sake of spending it.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that answered the question there, Brian. We apologize if we misconstrued it, but we're going to move on here to Josh Nelson. Josh Nelson has 2 questions, and we'll answer the first one first. We'll get to the second one here in a second. How come Myers is waiver exempt? Is it because he was undrafted? No. Not because he's undrafted. Farabee was drafted in the first round, and he's waiver exempt. It all has to do with age, games played in professional, and not even the type of contract, because one-way and two-way contracts have no bearing on whether you can have to clear waivers or not. It's a salary type of problem there. It's an entry-level contract.
Right, but one way, and I mean, not with someone like Myers, but one way and two way contracts do have a bearing, though, wouldn't they? Because that's why they have a two-way contract.
No, two-way contracts basically state that at the NHL level, if John.
Oh, right.
Get it? You're a defenseman. You're making $700,000 a year.
I already know. Yep, I already know what you're talking about. Yeah,
perfect.
Sorry.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know, two-way contracts just basically specify 2 different types of salaries depending on whether you're playing in the NHL or the AHL. But no, that's not why Myers is waiver exempt. We're glad that he is, just for the purpose that he was actually sent down. But again, another argument. Didn't think that was a good choice. But getting to his second question here, he goes, hypothetical over-under of games until Farabee is called up is 8. He puts it at 8. Do you take the over or under?
Oh, I'm going over.
Over 8 games until he's called up?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They wouldn't have sent him down if they felt like in 8 games he's going to be ready. There's no way.
But what if someone like Torinsky or Bunneman isn't ready? Who's the next guy up? Or even is Nolan Patrick ready to slot back into the lineup? If he's not ready, you have to call somebody up, don't you? If you want to get Bunneman or Torinsky out of the lineup.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand that Farabee stayed with the Flyers the longest, and he proved that he might have been the most ready at the time. But like 8 games, maybe Rupstov is the guy who goes up. You know, I mean, I think it's going to be more than 8 games.
I'm going to be bold here and say under.
What happens? What's going to happen then?
Bunneman or Torinsky. One of them is just not going to, I won't say find his footing, but not impress the Flyers brass. And they're going to look to shake things up.
So I have a question for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Does Farabee need to light the does he need to score a point a game with the Phantoms in order for the Flyers to do that? Or do you think maybe if, say, Twarynski or Bunneman isn't cutting it, they go, you know what? The kid experiment just isn't working right now. Let's bring up like Andreoff.
No, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think Andreoff is the guy. I don't think any of those vets are the guys because they've had their time.
Right.
And Andreoff's had stints in the NHL, and he's underwhelmed. Could you maybe experiment with Greg Carey or a Cal O'Reilly? Sure.
How long is Curtis Gabriel out?
I don't know. I think he's another week to week.
All right.
I don't think it's a long-term thing, but again, I don't want Gabriel on the Flyers. I don't think he's an NHL forward.
No, neither do I. I'm just thinking about like what's going to go through the mind of Chuck Fletcher,
Yeah. It's true. You never know. We can't sit here and say we know what Chuck Fletcher's thinking, but I think that to get back to your original question here about Farabee putting up a point per game, I don't think he necessarily has to do that, but I do think obviously it would help.
Right.
But if he goes out and plays the way he did in training camp and during these preseason games, even if in, let's say, 6 games he's got 3 points, I think that if he shows in those 6 games that he's driving play, that he has a nose for the net, that he's showing his worth, I think it's a no-brainer. You got to bring the guy up because, again, he was the last forward cut for the Flyers heading into the regular season. So obviously, Fletcher and Vigneault and all the coaches saw something in him to keep him around that long.
Right.
You don't want to say necessarily by default, but I think that he's the guy that they would bring up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question.
Next question. You'll have to give me a second here. I lost track real quick. Next question comes from Tim Sullivan, and this is a quick one. Is your mustache, honestly, the best thing that you could do? He goes, I mean, you have a beautiful wife who apparently loves you, and this is how you treat her. I have since shaved my mustache. It is gone. I am clean shaven now. I miss the beard. As scroungy and gross as it looked, I do miss it.
You look like a bit of a pirate with the mustache.
I liked it. I could finally curl it out like Captain Hook, and I felt great.
Yeah.
Somebody at work called me Gardner Minshew, and that was the peak of my life.
I love it.
So did I.
Just my hero.
She told me, I can't take you seriously with your mustache, so I shaved it. And I'm like, now, can you take me seriously?
Nope.
And she still can't. But getting to an actual question here. Sort of, I guess you could say. Nat Marlowe asks us, the Flyers' new goal song is going to be Feel the Shake by Jet Boy, according to Flyers music director DJ Reed Streets. Apparently, he had no input on it, though. Do you love it? Do you hate it? If you could change it to anything else, what would it be? I hate every Flyers goal song since Bro Hymn. Yeah. Bring Bro Hymn back. I don't care that it's Anaheim's song. Bring it back now.
Did you listen to this one? Feel
No,
the Shake?
I don't care.
I Googled it and I listened to a little bit of it. It's an 80s hair metal song.
Is it?
Yeah, it's old.
Oh, then I definitely need to look it up. I love 80s hair metal.
Yeah, it's not a bad song, but
not the right one.
No, you know what would be a good one?
What?
Every time they score, my, once bit, twice shy, baby.
I think they should do
Little
Cherry
White?
Pie.
That'd be funny.
By Warrant. Oh.
Uh-huh.
Get the ladies moving around in the stadium, yeah.
Does anybody come on, feel the noise? That's another good one.
That'd be a good one.
Like, this is such a random 80s hair metal song. I've never even heard of this band.
Back in the day, they did Van Halen. Van Halen, I think it was not Jump. It was it Jump, maybe?
I don't know. Panama would be a good one.
Panama. Something to just get people moving, and excited. And something to sing along to.
Sorry, I get into it.
No, without going too further into that, obviously there's so many choices. But no, I'll listen to Jet Boy between now and next week, but you know my thoughts on that. Now we have a trio of questions coming from Joe Tillman here. Again, this is 2, 3, and 4 of his 4 questions. He asks first, will AV keep these lines consistent, or if the Flyers go 2 to 3 games in a lull, will he switch them up?
Oh, he definitely will if they go in a lull. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
things need switched up if things aren't working. And if they aren't working, it's time.
Yep.
And question number 3, how often realistically...
Question number 3? That was the first one.
That was his second question, because his first question was our first question that we answered.
All right.
Keep up, John. Let's go.
Sorry.
How often, realistically, will we see Brian Elliott?
I don't know. 30-something games?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
35 games.
I like it.
Yeah. That's all you need him for. Carter Hart,
Right.
I think, can shoulder the load there.
Yep.
Now, his last question, and the last question that we have to answer.
No, that's not true. I told you.
I'm sorry.
I told you I have one.
Well, I miscalculated. This is the last question from Joe Tillman. We still have one more. But anyways, we're moving on here. What do we as a fan base have to do to get Haig out of the lineup? I know you guys don't curse on the podcast, but seriously, bleep Haig.
Yeah,
Spot on.
I mean, we don't need to go too much into this because we've already talked about Haig.
Apparently, we also do curse on the podcast now, according to John.
I slipped. I slipped and I whispered it. All right, so give me a break here.
Let me see if I can edit that out.
Don't worry about it. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if we got rid of him, whatever. But if we don't get rid of him, whatever. I mean, someone else will replace him if they deserve to replace him.
If he gets overtaken by Myers or Haig, I
Or
like him.
Morin, you mean?
Morin, not Haig. Good Lord. If Robert Haig gets overtaken by Myers or Morin, he's a great 7th or 8th defenseman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not seeing the ice, sitting up in the press box with the rest of us, enjoying those Flyers logo-shaped soft pretzels with the spicy brown mustard.
Yep.
Some of my favorites there. I don't think they necessarily need to get rid of him, but they need to get rid of him to an extent to, get him off the ice.
Yeah.
Now we can get to the question that someone asked John, because apparently no one cares what I have to say.
Right. Well, that makes sense. All right. So this one's from Orange Man Bad. Ooh. And it's a very creepy profile picture, but that's for a different time. The question is it possible we overreacted a little bit when it comes to just how much young talent we have in the pipeline? Our vets are a few years from retirement, and hardly any of the young guys have cracked the lineup or just can't play. Can I start this one?
Yeah.
We certainly overreacted about the young talent because it was all we had to look forward to. During the rebuild years, the Hextall years, it was just all about the prospects. But every team in the position that the Flyers were in overreact when it comes to their young talent. I think that the Flyers do have a lot of quality young talent, but when you're talking about forwards, it's like bottom 6 guys. Maybe a few middle 6, but not many top liners.
You don't think the Devils overreacted a little bit when they drafted Pavel Zacha?
Right.
I mean, look at him.
Right. That's what you do. You overreact. But you're right, though. I mean, we do have a lot of young talent, but to think that if you just the old guys are going to come out and we just have these guys slot in, we're going to be 5-time Stanley Cup winners, that'd just be foolish.
Yeah. I mean, Wade Allison on any other team, don't care. Wade Allison on the Flyers, top 6 potential right off the bat.
Tanner Lashinsky's the same way.
Yeah, the next Connor McDavid, But no, to be completely serious here for a second, you're right. When you only have one thing really to look forward to, you overreact, you blow smoke. It's one of those things that just got us excited, that got fans excited, analysts alike. If we could call ourselves that, if you want to go that far. But if we're being serious here, it's definitely feasible. We overreact to these picks because Hextall was great at the draft, and everybody labeled him the draft guru, and we have all this talent now, but we'll see how it pans out. There's still time. There's still guys in the system, and we're seeing guys like Bunneman and Torinsky move up. Farabee, Frost are making strides. Ratcliffe as well. There's still time. It's
Right.
But at the same rate, the time is coming that they need to perform. These old guys are not a couple years away from retirement. I think Giroux's got a few more years more than that left in the tank, as does Voracek. Couturier's pretty young.
Definitely.
I think we're safe there as well.
Right. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So who was that again?
Oh, I just got rid of it.
Never mind. Orange bad.
Orange man bad.
Orange man bad. Hopefully that answers your question. Don't get too down on the team right now just because these young kids aren't quote unquote panning out.
No, still be excited.
Yeah. There's plenty of reason to be excited. We're 1-0. Let's celebrate.
Right.
But until the celebration really starts and we win more games, we're going to sign off for this week, folks. John, let these fine people know where they can find your work and you.
Well, I changed my Twitter handle. So my Twitter handle is now representative of our brand. It is @PodStreetGove. Yeah, I mean, it's the same stuff. It's just a new Twitter handle. I'm assuming you guys follow me already. You can find my work at Philly Sports Network. You can also find some of my work at the OHL Network. I'm doing a little work for them, writing about covering the London Knights. So if you're into that thing, you can find me over there too.
Get into it.
And you can talk now too.
I'm going to talk now. I also changed my Twitter name to fit the Pod Street Bullies brand. I am now Pod Street Bob. You can just tell the budding, it's not budding anymore. It's just fully bloomed bromance here.
We're like a degenerate version of Bert and Ernie.
We are. It's bad. It's gotten out of hand. Our wives are starting to hate us. But you can find my work on Philadelphia Sports Network as well. You can find the witty tweets coming from the Pod Street Bullies account, which you're already following, obviously. And to sum things up, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. Google us. We're there. You'll find us. Until then, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, one more thing.
Yes.
If you are on a podcast, if you listen to us on a podcast thing where you can subscribe and leave comments and all that stuff, please give us a rating and a review. I mean, that stuff's really helpful. And also, if you know anybody that likes to advertise things, we would read some advertisements on the podcast. So if there's anybody out there who just wants to get their brand spread, hit us up on the email that Derek's going to give you.
Yeah, podstreetbullies@gmail.com. You can always DM us on Twitter as well. We have an Instagram. You can find us there too. Contact us however you're comfortable with. We will talk and we'll line something up. Let us know what we can do, and we'll do whatever we need to do. Until then, if we are done now. Right, John?
We're done now.
We're done now. Guys, as always, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.